The Uzumaki are by far one of the most popular clans in Naruto, second only to the likes of the Uchiha, and this shouldn't really come as a surprise, seeing as though the series' protagonist descends from their lineage and the role they play in certain significant plot points. Signified by their bright red hair, the Uzumaki are some of the most visually distinctive people in the Naruto universe, but despite their popularity, not many people know that much about them in series and in real life, which is why today, per the request of one of my faithful subscribers, I want to take a deep dive into the Uzumaki to explore every canon piece of information we know about them. I'll be strictly using the manga and databook since the anime continuity is a bit dubious in its canonicity, and I'd rather stick to what Kishimoto wrote himself. However, I will be using certain anime information that builds off of canon material rather than straight anime only. But with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe, we're shooting for 10k. Okay, so to understand the origins of the Uzumaki clan, we first have to go all the way back to the genesis of shinobi itself. Long ago, the Sage of Six Paths created the Shinobi Creed and made his first attempt at world peace. However, he died before he could fulfill his dream, and as such, he left his will and teachings to his two children. The older son Inja had been born with the Sage's eyes, granting him chakra powers plus mental energy, and the younger brother Ashura had been born with the Sage's body, which granted him stamina and physical energy. Now, this was retconned later to be Ashura awakening his chakra through training rather than being genetically inherited, but that doesn't really matter. All we need to establish is that at some point in time, Ashura awakened Six Path level bodily chakra. Now, in the end, Hagoromo did not choose Indra, but rather Ashura as his worthy heir, and Indra, having thought himself the logical choice as the firstborn, could not accept Hagoromo's decision, and out of extreme rage, he declared war on Ashura. Following this declaration, the two brothers and their family/followers would continue to fight each other across generations until both lineages would eventually become what we know today as the Senju and Uchiha clan. However, there was one other clan that descended from Ashura's bloodline, that being the topic of this video, the Uzumaki clan. There is this misconception that the Uzumaki are an offshoot of the Senju, however that's not actually the case. The Uzumaki are stated to only be distant relatives of the Senju, which means that rather than being a derivative of the Senju clan, they more so share a common ancestor. This also leads me to believe that this statement by Zetsu about Nagato being of Senju bloodline may not be in reference to his Uzumaki lineage on his mom's side, but rather his father, who is a non-Uzumaki, may be a remnant of the Senju clan. However, that's just my headcanon. It more than likely is just referring to the relationship between the Uzumaki and the Senjus, and it probably just got lost in translation. Now, not much is known about what happened before the Uzumaki split off from Ashura's direct bloodline. However, we do know that at some point after this branching, the Uzumaki settled in the Land of Eddies right off the coast of the Land of Fire. During this time period, the Land of Eddies had a very close relationship with the Land of Fire, and as such, the Uzushio village, the shinobi village of the Land of Eddies, had a close relationship with Konoha. So much so that Konoha honors their relationship to this day by having the Uzushio crest placed on every single standard issue flak jacket and undershirt. There would also be a special building erected for the Uzumaki close to the Okage, along with a specialized barrier where the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails would stay. This is coupled with the Uzumaki shrine that was built on the outskirts of the village that housed the exit for the Reaper Death Seal. Now, here's where it gets a bit muddy again. We know that at the time of the events of the main series, Uzushio no longer existed, and this is because during the era of war and unrest, due to the fear of their sealing jutsu, they were targeted and eradicated. There is this misconception that the five great nations teamed together to take them out, but the specifics of their genocide was never stated. All we know is that a group of people of unknown origins wiped them out off the face of the planet, and as such the survivors fled and hid themselves throughout the land, which is why we have cases such as Karin and her family being all the way in Kusagakure and Nagato and his family being all the way in Amagakure. But the reason why I said that this is a bit muddy is because we don't know what era of war and unrest this is in reference to. By the wording, it would suggest that it happened during the Warring States period, but that cannot be the case since Konoha was founded at the end of that period, and as we already established, Uzushio were friends with Konoha. We know that Hashirama married an Uzushio Uzumaki Kunoichi named Mito before the First Great Shinobi War because Hashirama died before it began, and remember, Kushina was selected to be the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails and brought to Konoha, which means that the village had to have still been around, especially because Kushina remembers coming from the village. This would then mean that Uzushio and subsequently the Uzumaki clan got wiped out sometime during or after the Second Great Shinobi War during Hiruzen's tenure as Hokage. This is also backed up by Mito herself, who states that the clan was now scattered in the Minato one-shot, which takes place either during or after the Second Great Shinobi War, which gives us a total of 5 named canon Uzumaki clan members, that being Kushina, Ashina the clan head, Nagato and Karin, and also Naruto as an honorary member with the random Uzumaki clan members shown behind Ashina. Now, contrary to popular belief, the Uzumaki clan were never stated to have large amounts of chakra in the manga. In the manga, the Uzumaki are stated to be brimming with vitality, so much so that they got the moniker of longevity. However, the only time the Uzumaki's chakra quantity was ever mentioned is in the 4th data book, where Karin's enormous amount of chakra was attributed to her Uzumaki blood. The most we get from the manga is that the Uzumaki have a tenacious life force, which could be interpreted as chakra quantity, but it's more in reference to potency than quantity, which is consistent with statements from Kushina, who stated that she had a particularly strong chakra among members of her clan, which implies that the Uzumaki have strong chakra, hers is just stronger. And it's with this strong life force that the Uzumaki are able to survive a while longer after having their tail beast extracted. We are also told by Kabuto, someone who spent years experimenting on Karin, that a special trait of those with Uzumaki blood flowing through their veins is their red hair, as well as Obito, who calls Nagato's red hair the proof of his Uzumaki lineage, essentially saying that those who have the Uzumaki blood running through their veins, i.e. the special chakra, are signified by their deep red hair. This also means that Naruto didn't inherit the special Uzumaki genes, but I have a video explaining that in detail, so go check it out in the description down below. There is also this misconception that only Uzumaki are chosen to be the Nine Tails Jinchuriki because of their large chakra pools, but nothing like that is ever stated. What is stated is that since the first person to seal the Nine Tails inside of themselves was an Uzumaki, they just made it a tradition, and since Kushina's chakra could specifically suppress Nine Tails chakra, they made her the second Jinchuriki as well. Now, as stated earlier, the Uzumaki are known for their sealing jutsu, and this is confirmed by many sources such as Kushina and the Raikage. These include the Reaper Death Seal, 8th Sign Seal, and the 4th Sign Seal. The Reaper Death Seal is an extreme sealing technique developed by the Uzumaki that seals the soul of the target with the user's life as a sacrifice. When invoked, it summons an invisible god of death clad in white that erects an invisible barrier strong enough to contain the Nine Tails. When activated, curse marks appear on the arms of the Shinigami that pierces the body of the jutsu user and pulls out the target's soul. However, the 8th Sign Seal is the result of layering 2 4th Sign Seals on top of each other and is mainly used when a giant enemy or evil spirit needs to be sealed. The jutsu gives you essentially the same level of ability as the Reaper Death Seal without the drawbacks, as with just a touch you can seal practically anybody into anything of your choice. People like to make the argument that it can only seal chakra, however that is never stated. The only thing that is stated is that it's mainly used to seal giant enemies, which doesn't restrict it to only chakra based entities, and if it can seal large objects, then logically it can seal small objects like a person. This means that at any point in time, the caster can simply touch you and seal you into a random object like a rock, a kunai, another person, or even themselves. It's also implied that Naruto's seal has some sort of heritage from the Sage of Six Paths, as when Naruto reseals Kurama after gaining KCM, Kurama questions if the Torii Gates are of the Sage of Six Paths. There is also the Mind's Eye of Kagura that's used by Karin, which is classified as a hidden or secret jutsu, which means that it was a technique passed down by her clan. It's described as a jutsu for finding enemies over a wide area, only made possible by the superior sensory capabilities of Karin. By closing her eyes and opening her mind's eye, she is able to detect the chakra of unusual activities within the radius of several dozen kilometers. In addition, if it is a specific chakra, she's able to perceive its location and activities at a greater detail. Similarly, the adamantine sealing chains are another one of the Uzumaki's hidden jutsu. A lot of people think it's a Kekkei Genkai, however it's not classified as such in the databooks and is referred to as a secret technique or hidden technique in the databooks as well. It's described as a technique Uzumaki Kushina used to restrain the Ninetales that was inside of Naruto. It's a powerful sealing technique characteristic of the Uzumaki clan, with chains that release from the body to bind firmly to the target and seal their movements. It's durable enough that the Ninetales can't destroy it easily, and with it the Ninetales is said to have never rampaged while being inside of Kushina. There is also Karin's heel bite, but we don't know if that is something that she got from the Uzumaki clan. It doesn't have a databook entry, so for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna give it to him just for the heck of it. But with that being said, that's pretty much it for the video. Let me know if I missed something and leave a comment down below calling me an idiot for not including it. But for real though, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye B.